Good morning and welcome to the Military Hour. We have a special guest with us this morning. We have Mr. Hari Brax of the Veterans, and it is VAVs is what we call it, and they are volunteers. And Hari, good morning. Glad you came out on this cold morning this morning.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Give us the official name of VAVs.
It's Veterans Affairs Voluntary Service.
Veterans Affairs Voluntary Service. How did you get involved with that?
Well, first of all, I was a Navy corpsman way back in 55 through 57. I was a Navy corpsman. And when I got down here after retiring and doing all my good things, I decided that I needed to do something for us veterans at that point. I already had a college degree, already had an engineering degree and a master's in business during that time, so I felt that I probably had something to offer to the organization. And I chose the clinic at the Navy base as the place to go. And initially ended up doing what a lot of people who are volunteering will start off with, which is the veterans, as well as everybody else, have a real problem in remembering when they have an appointment. So consequently, the veterans, or the volunteers rather, there are making phone calls the day before, which is sometimes the second phone call they got. People get ticked off about it, but in any case, it does work. It gets people there, and it does serve a purpose. The only thing is I don't like getting on the phone all the time. So I said, well, isn't there something I can do? Because I was a corpsman, so I know a little bit about all of this operation. Well, it turns out that we have a clinic, we have a laboratory in the clinic, and they have perhaps 15, 20 people that will be sitting out in the waiting room and trying to be called and having to be registered and so forth, going through. And the people that are doing the drawing of the blood really don't have time. It will take forever for them to do it. There are times when, of course, I don't do it. But
And that's the clinic at the Navy base.
Clinic at the Navy base, right. And so I'm kind of the policeman for that operation and try to keep things going and try to keep people from getting all upset because they have to wait 15 minutes. I try to tell them that if you go out to a private doctor, you're going to be there for an hour and a half sometimes, but the 15 minutes or 5 minutes at times is not that much of a wait, so get off my butt.
True.
You know?
Well, Hari, I've gotten those phone calls, and I'll tell you what, there have been times when I got that phone call, I was like, oh, I forgot. Yeah, I got to be there in the morning. And, and they've got to draw my blood. And they always do, for me, and everything that I've seen when I've been out there, they do a really, really good job with everybody. They do get you in, they do get you out. And like you say, a lot of times there's 24 to up to 30 people waiting over there at that lab to get either blood drawn or get their prescriptions. They've just been sent over from another building. Mm-hmm. And but what a tremendous work. We're going to be back with Hari Brax. But right now, you know what time it is? It's time for some more. Three Without Me, let's roll. We are back with Hari Brax. We are rejoining. Hari has something he wants to share with us, and I'm very anxious to hear what you got for us now.
Well, I think the first thing that we really have to explain is, why is there a VAVS? Why is there a VA volunteer service? And since everybody has gone to hospitals and have been exposed to people who are pushing carts around and doing things of that nature, the VA's facilities require that kind of help all the time too. And rather than having to hire a bunch of people to be there and pay for them, we're looking for volunteers because we are providing a service for veterans in this particular case. So someone who is helping in our kind of a situation, a VAVS kind of a thing, is actually doing a healthcare service and a veteran service at the same time. So it makes you really, really feel good about it.
Now, is there an age restriction for people that may want to volunteer or anything like that?
They have to be old enough to be able to walk.
Okay.
No, really, I think that there is no real restriction, I don't believe, but preferably it would be people who have already finished a career, would make it easier for everybody to work with, or some people who are, say, family members who are not doing anything except working at home or watching TV or something of that nature.
Sitting around watching TV.
Wonderful thing to do, because it is providing a service, and it's a lot of good people that you deal with when you're there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that is true. I've been in facilities that, and you come out of the facility when you're finished, you actually feel better about not only yourself, but what you're doing to help a veteran or someone in need. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that the young people that are listening, you can volunteer as well. Now, there might be, I don't think there's a rigorous process you have to go through, but you'll be looked at, and if you want to volunteer and push a wheelchair or probably take a drink to a patient, that's probably something that you can do or anybody can do. So it's not only for retired people to help veterans, it's kind of open to all the age groups, and would be beneficial. Well, Harry, share something else with us that you're involved in, because I know you're a busy man.
Well, one of the things that he's referring to is the fact that I've been very active and still am very active in the Optimist organization. Optimists are an organization, worldwide organization with about 65,000 people, something like that, worldwide. We have two clubs here in town, one on the Panama City side and one on the beach side, and we do a lot of things for kids. We concentrate on kids. We have things like we have a activity coming up tonight, which is probably my favorite one, which is called Youth Appreciation. And what we do is we go to each of the high schools in the area, and we ask them for their best two people, preferably boy and girl. Mm-hmm. And they'll provide us with those names and that information. We will make up plaques and everything. We have them all coming in tonight to the Senior Center on Panama City Beach, and that includes all the schools on the other side of the bridge, of course, too, not just Arnold. And we will be giving them a meal, have their parents along, and we'll give them a meal. And then we have each individual child come up and tell us why he's there. What does he do that makes a reason for the school to choose him or her? And which is sometimes very, very interesting, because when you listen to someone like the Margaret K. Lewis kids talk about it, your tears start to run a little bit. So, and some of it's just unbelievable. Some of these kids are just absolutely incredible in what they've done. They've gotten tremendous marks in school, and they're taking their first year of college at the same time. All sorts of good stuff like that. So
yeah, I'm aware of a lot of that, Harry, because I'm fortunate to be able to be part of an organization that you're part of, also the 48, and we do scholarships here at Gulf Coast State College as well. Right. So, and that's a good thing. And again, outstanding students are the ones that benefit.
Sure, and the thing is that if you think about it, if you look at your newspaper or you watch the TV or even listen to the radio, who do you hear about in terms of kids? You hear about the person who was doing something wrong.
Yep.
They broke in someplace, they beat somebody up or whatever, or they're sports stars. And they're the stars, not the guy who was sitting on the bench, who is also important to them.
Absolutely.
But they don't talk about those kind of people. And so that's why they don't talk about these kids who are highly educated. They do a lot of stuff for the community, and they're not getting any kudos. So we try to get that going. I'm trying to get people in the media to listen to this.
Well, it's unfortunate, but the way the media has evolved, that it's all about sensationalism. And if it's bad news, that's what sells. Good news, people are like, meh. Personally, I'd rather hear the good news. I'd rather hear about a young person doing something well. I'd rather hear about retired people volunteering their time to help others, because that is what means something. In the end run, when life is finished, and we will all finish it, we just don't know how or why or when, but it's how you finish and how you live your life that really matters. You can live a good life and help others, or you can choose a different path. So I'm thankful for the path you're on, as well as the path that I'm on, and I like to keep giving back. Tell me something else that interested you, other than being a veteran, because I know you're involved with other veterans organizations. You, I believe, are involved with AMVETS and the 40 and 8 and
Fleet Reserve.
Fleet Reserve. You tell me who all you're involved in and how you managed to pick that route.
Bay County Veterans Council as well, and I guess the route was really picked for me because I tend to be kind of active and get my nose into a lot of stuff. So people try to take advantage, of course, of my shortcoming or whatever you want to call that. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know.
We suffer from the we can't say no syndrome. That's what I call it.
I've heard that many times. Yes, my kids will tell me that sometimes. Why don't you sit down on your butt for a while, Dad? Don't just work every day.
Some of us aren't made that way.
No.
We just aren't.
I can't do it.
Yeah, I've got to say in that maybe you'll appreciate this, that I've said for years and years, I would rather burn out than rust out.
Wonderful saying.
I don't want to rust, but I do want to have some more music.
Right.
Time for more. Let's roll. All right, we are back with Hari Brax, VAVS, VAVS is what we call it for short. He helps out here at the Navy base. And Hari, what else you got for us now?
I think the first thing I really would like to say is I'd like you to tell me a definition of veteran, if you would, please.
Well, I'll give it my best shot. I kind of use it in a lot of my signatures, but a veteran is someone at some point in his life swore an oath up to and including his life to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. And everybody that has served has sworn that oath when they were in the service. So that's what it is to me.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear, because there's so many people that are making detrimental statements about veterans. We give them all sorts of stuff and they don't deserve it and so forth. And that's kind of like the guy that's in the White House up there seems to feel as well. They're just another bunch of guys who are mooching off us and so forth. We have a number of veterans organizations around, and as you heard mentioned, I belong to about 4 of them at this point. And each of the veterans organizations provides community service as one of their major activities. They provide community service of one sort. They contribute money to a lot of organizations, a lot of health operations, everything else. They do a lot of stuff that people don't give them credit for. And if you visualize like our AMVETS 47 in Panama City Beach, our operation has a canteen. Mm-hmm. And sure, people do sit around there and they do have drinks and so forth, because that's a good way of talking to other people and being able to communicate with everybody. You can also hear a lot of good things and a lot of bad things that we can do. Now, right now, for instance, our ladies organization is providing Thanksgiving baskets mm-hmm. to veterans that are chosen by one of the local community services. And that's all just coming out of our dues and so forth, or whatever donations we can get. So,
sure. We pretty much, all of us, work hand in glove with a lot of the local organizations. And in fact, the organization you and I are involved with this past year donated $5,392 to hospice. You don't hear a lot of that kind of thing on the ground, so to speak, and then there's much more of that goes on that people just don't realize and don't know that we do. And I can assure you, just about every post that's out there, VFW, AMVETS, American Legion, Fleet Reserve, they are providing meals during the holidays. They give services, time and money to homeless veterans, to veterans in hospitals and in nursing homes. But again, you don't hear about that stuff. Why? I don't know. We're not looking to be patted on the back. We have hearts to help. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that why you do what you do, Harry?
absolutely.
Yeah. We don't need all that, hey, 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 rah, rah, rah. It's like, let's just get the job done.
Right.
There are people that have needs. So, and as a brother, you can answer yes or no to this one, but every now and then I've been known to try and shame people into action. And there are a lot of younger people out there like me. I'm only a mere 63. But if you would give me permission to tell our listeners your current age, I would love to do that. And maybe that'll get some of them up off their duff and get them moving and get out here and help somebody. If it's your neighbor, just help them do something. Everybody's got some kind of a need. So you going to let me spill the beans, Harry, and tell them your age?
Go for it.
81. This man's 81 years old and active. I thought I was active. Now I've got somebody I can look up to. Guess what we're going to do now? We're going to have a little more music and come back with Harry one more time. I'm amazed. Yeah, sometimes things get strange. We are back with Hari Brax. Harry, what you got to share with us now, brother?
Well, I think one of the key things at this point is that to understand, first of all, VA volunteer service. Now, volunteer service can actually either be personal service or donations. Both of them will serve a need in the veterans organizations. Here in our area, in Panama City, of course, we have the Sims Nursing Home, which is for veterans, and on the beach we have, on the Navy base, we have the VA clinic where I do my volunteering. So that's from a personal standpoint. The VA is perfectly willing to take your money if you're able to donate to them, and they would be happy to have it, because that just means that we can afford to hire somebody or maybe provide coffee for the people when they come into the clinic. There's a website that you might want to jot down, and that's www.volunteer.va.gov. G-O-V. So you might want to, if you had a chance to write that down, I can repeat it later.
Yeah, please repeat it for the listeners now.
Let me talk a little bit more about the formal activities and so forth. Any veterans organization such as the two I mentioned is going to need people to help them. And so volunteers don't have, the only need for a volunteer to be is he or she has to be able to devote some time and be willing to devote some time to help veterans. They have to basically have a fingerprint done.
Kind of a background check.
Background checks and so forth, of course, are necessary, because no one can afford to have people who just are preying on our subjects, our unhealthy veterans, let's say. There are 140,000 volunteers who gave 11 million hours of direct service to veterans in the last year or two.
Wow.
And
big numbers.
Yeah, they're big numbers. Unfortunately, that's still nowhere near enough because there are still jobs that we have to pay for that would be that where the guy sits around for most of the day and works for 2 or 3 hours a day. We still have to pay him for a whole day as a veterans organization. And whereas if a volunteer was there, they would come in, do the job, and go home.
Sure.
And it would be a tremendous help to find some people who are willing to do all that. So either the Sims Nursing Home or the VA clinic on the Navy base, both available for that.
Two good places to volunteer your time, whether you got an hour, 3 hours, or 5, or I'm sure they could use the help one way or another. Well, Harry, I tell you, from the time I met you first, I could tell you were a man of character and of high caliber. And I'm glad you came in today. I hope you've had fun. I hope the listeners are learning, but moreover, I hope some of them wind up going out and volunteering because it's a good way to live your life, doing volunteer work. It really, really is.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have a little bit more music. Let's roll.